Mi nombre es Carlos Leonardo Vázquez González. Soy médico, especialista de primer grado en medicina general integral y especialista en oncología y máster en ciencia. Pero soy un cubano, un revolucionario, un martiano y lo más grande, un fidelista. Y hace más de 25 años soy el agente Fernando de los órganos de la seguridad del Estado, a la cual he dedicado mi vida y en la cual estoy sentado hoy para hacer esta denuncia pública al pueblo de Cuba para que no se dejen engañar de líderes creados por manuales, porque Cuba jamás será intervenida por el enemigo, el gran enemigo del norte.
Cuban protesters who are collaborating with literal terrorists. It all started when an artist named Yunio Garcia called for Cubans to protest the socialist government on November 15th. The calls for protests began to raise eyebrows when it became clear that the US government and other foreign actors were supporting them. A recently leaked call between the protest organizers and Ramon Saul Sanchez, a notorious Cuban-American terrorist, now confirms this.
Yo sí creo en el apoyo que necesitamos de todo el exilio, donde quiera que estén.
Estamos 100%, te admiramos, mi hermano. Nosotros tenemos bastante acceso aquí a los medios, entonces cualquier difusión que tú quieras, enseguida lo lanzas por acá, nosotros lo repartimos.
Sanchez lives in Miami, not Cuba, and was a member of several Cuban-American terrorist groups responsible for at least 30 bomb plots against pro-Cuban government organizations. One of the groups, Omega 7, was called one of the most active terrorist groups in the United States by federal authorities in the 1980s. Garcia tried to downplay the phone call in a Facebook post, but in the same breath confirmed that it was indeed him on the phone with Sanchez. He also admits that he had prior contact with the current US ambassador to Cuba. The fact that the organizers are working with Sanchez is a huge deal, because so far the organizers have been trying to frame the protests as a progressive movement fighting for human rights. The whole history of right-wing Cuban activism is littered with terrorism. In 1976, the anti-Castro Cuban exiles planted bombs on a Cuban civilian airliner and killed all 73 people on board. In 1964, Cuban terrorists fired a bazooka at the United Nations building at the approximate time Cuban leader Che Guevara was addressing the General Assembly. While plots like these are extraordinary, they wouldn't be possible without US support. For example, the people who blew up that Cuban plane were CIA assets. The US tried to kill Fidel Castro at least 638 times. As the center of world capitalism, the last thing the United States wants is a thriving socialist Cuba. These terrorist plots aim to destabilize the Cuban government to kill its leaders and replace them with people who will push a pro-capitalist, pro-business agenda. Given this history, it's no surprise that the US is already publicly throwing their weight behind the November 15th protests, even though they haven't even taken place yet.